Hey folks, this is Kalani. The release date for Dragonflight may have just been leaked. A post has been circulating rather quickly which has dates marked for various World of Warcraft milestones, including the Dragonflight pre-patch dates, the Dragonflight expansion launch dates, as well as a handful of other things like Wrath of the Lich King Classic, some Call of Duty games, and even something about Diablo 4. Now, as always with this kind of thing, we have no idea whether it has any credibility, and it should most definitely be taken with a massive grain of salt, but let's see what this leak is all about, check out the proposed release dates of multiple games, and see if they can actually line up with some realistic timelines. Before we jump in, be sure to hit up that like button and subscribe so you never miss another video. So the big news right now is what looks to be an internal document, maybe part of a spreadsheet or something similar, has been leaked in various places online. It popped up on Reddit, where it was later deleted, but we all know by now that if something goes up on the internet, you can never truly get rid of it. So we have a screenshot of the leak right here. This seems to pertain to more than just World of Warcraft and even more than just Blizzard games, as there's also Call of Duty titles on here alongside Overwatch 2 and Diablo 4, but we're mostly interested in those World of Warcraft dates. So we have WoW Classic Wrath of the Lich King pre-patch slated for August 30th, the WoW Dragonflight patch 10.0 pre-patch arriving on October 25th, the release date for the Dragonflight expansion itself labelled here as WoW 10.0 global launch, scheduled for November 28th as well. The November 28th release date would also coincide with the earlier leaks stating that Dragonflight will launch sometime in November. Now remember, that leak is from the same chap who leaked the expansion name, the general theme, and the new class and spec, among a few other details that turned out to be true. So if he is also correct about a release date, then that would line up with this new leak as well. Now interestingly, almost right after this leak started circulating, the Wrath of the Lich King Classic pre-patch had its date announced, and shockingly, they announced it for August 30th. So that part of the leak was confirmed within the same day, which could just be crazy coincidence, or it could mean that this leak is the real deal. At the very least, it's already earned a little bit of credit, you know, a shred of credibility for having one correct date. We'll just have to wait and see as these other milestones come by whether anything actually happens or not. So let's just run with this for now, take these dates and see how they would line up with a typical expansion launch. It starts with pre-patch. This leak has that slated for October 25th. That would give us about 2 more months of alpha and beta to get almost the entire expansion ready to go. They can add some finishing touches during the pre-patch if they really need to, and I guess round out the beta testing for some of the other endgame features and systems, but for anything that comes with the pre-patch, that would all have to be done. Typically, pre-patches introduce larger system changes, which in Dragonflight's case would be things like professions. It's a system that's going to get a massive overhaul, and it's something that we already have access to, so chances are it will change with the pre-patch date instead of the expansion launch date. We should also unlock access to the new race class combo, the Drakthea Evokers, including their introduction experience, so we can play around with the new class for the rest of Shadowlands up until Dragonflight releases for real. Now this leak has the pre-patch lasting for 4 weeks, which isn't unheard of, though it is on the longer side of pre-patches when you compare it to the past. Ian has also said in one of the earlier Dragonflight interviews that their plan at the time was to have a 2-week pre-patch, if I remember correctly, so that doesn't really match up with what this leak would have us believe. Obviously, plans do change on either side here. Maybe the leak is old data, maybe the interview isn't relevant anymore, but either way, I would actually expect a shorter pre-patch rather than a longer one. But honestly, it really does depend on the pre-patch event. I think if the pre-patch event is awesome and it's a really good one, dev team should always have longer pre-patches because it gives us something new to do, and they actually cut some pre-patch events short in my opinion. If they have a big event planned, the 4-week pre-patch could be a lot of fun, but if there's not really that much to do, a shorter pre-patch would probably be better. Pre-patch date is probably the most flexible thing here though, so I'm not too concerned about that. With the release date being marked for late November, that does mean we are going to run into the same problems that Shadowlands had at launch, namely the release schedule post-launch for things like Mythic Plus and the first raid tier. If the game launches on November 28th, the first raid tier will probably open up 2 to 3 weeks later. It's been 2 weeks recently, which would put us at December 13th. Mythic raids usually go live a week after the raid first opens, which would be December 20th. So the Mythic raid would become available right before Christmas, which isn't great timing for a lot of different reasons, but most importantly, they won't really have many people in the office, so they can't respond to any problems that might pop up. Even if the raid release was pushed back one more week, that would have the raid opening up just before Christmas and Mythic opening just after. That's probably a lot worse. Does that mean November 28th is an unrealistic date? Actually, not at all. After Shadowlands was delayed, it released on November 23rd, 2020, so that would put the Dragonflight release almost 2 years to the date after Shadowlands. Now that was a bit wonky because Shadowlands released right before Thanksgiving in the US, not great timing for the reasons that we brought up earlier, and Dragonflight's current leaked date would actually be right after Thanksgiving, which is honestly much better. Everyone will be coming back from a break rather than the break happening right after the expansion launch. But this does bring us into weird territory when it comes to talking about how these dates could shift. For example, if we bring Dragonflight's date forward by 1 week, it puts it in the same bad position that Shadowlands was in, releasing just before Thanksgiving. That would, however, free up the back end of the release schedule, and the raid would open up a bit earlier before the big holiday break. Obviously, as you go earlier and earlier, the dates line up even better, but then you run into the problem of whether the game will be finished or not, so it's a balancing act. Early enough to avoid most of the holidays, but late enough so the game is actually finished. I actually seriously doubt that they'll get this game finished before November, and I think a lot of players still doubt they can even get it ready for release this year, so I doubt we will see it earlier than this leaked date, if I am being perfectly honest. I also think this date might be the perfect sweet spot between the various holidays, and even though the Mythic raid opens up very close to Christmas with this setup, the dev team also said they don't want to develop and plan around the world first raiders anymore, which is a good thing in my opinion, and maybe the timing is just part of that stance. In an interesting move, we actually have a blue post kinda sorta talking about this exact issue. Unsurprisingly, these leaks sparked quite a bit of discussion in a variety of places, including the official forums. The main thread was asking for the dev team to not open the raid over the holidays, while the replies were actually quite mixed. Some folks obviously don't want to choose between playing World of Warcraft or hanging out with their family and friends, while others think the holidays are the perfect time to play as they have more time off than other times of the year. So I guess it depends on how you want to spend your holiday season, but the interesting part is the blue response. We really appreciate this discussion and feedback. When the time comes for us to announce a release date for Dragonflight, we'll share details on our initial raid/season schedule. Thank you. So, not really any information given here, but the fact that the dev team replied means it's probably something that they're actually putting a lot of thought into, and something they might have a plan for, whether that's releasing the game later and the raid starting in the new year, releasing the game at the end of November with a long period between launch and the raid, or just opening up everything anyway and saying enjoy the game at your own pace. They could kind of do anything with it at this point, but their main focus really does seem to be on delivering on that release date promise. Dragonflight will release in 2022. If that means the raid schedule is weird, so be it. If that means we have a longer or shorter pre-patch, that's what they'll do. I think their sole goal is making sure the game releases this year, and anything else is just extra. Personally, while I don't really put much faith in leaks in general, I think the dates actually work pretty well for Dragonflight. I bet the pre-patch is going to be later, with it being not as long, but I could totally see Dragonflight releasing on November 28th. It also wouldn't be the first time Dragonflight leaks have turned out to be true. I guess Blizzard maybe needs to patch up a leaky hole somewhere. But yeah, we might see Dragonflight pre-patch as early as October, with Dragonflight launching in November. The devs have said time and time again that the expansion will release this year still, and they're on track for that goal, so it kind of has to be November if they don't want to wait until the very end of the year, right? So it's honestly probably pretty likely. Do you think that's enough time for the expansion to reach a finished state? Are you worried that the dev team is maybe rushing this expansion, or do you think it looks pretty good from what we've seen on the alpha? Leave all your thoughts in the comment section below. A big thank you to all of our supporters over on Patreon and to everyone who's subscribed on Twitch. You can see the names floating by on screen. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe and ring that notification bell so you never miss another video. Thanks for watching, folks. Good luck and have fun, and as always, I will see you next time.